All right, the number one mistake crypto traders make and how to fix it. This is NC Hammer Crypto. My name's Neil. We keep technical analysis short and sweet. We had a request by Richard Hayes about XPR, not XRP network, which I'm actually going to bring in right now because it's pretty interesting. XPR looks identical to a lot of what we've been looking at recently. If anything, it looks closest to XCN. It does have some more sideways consolidation. But when we're looking at this on the daily, we see that it still has a lot of room to run. What we don't normally do is just something like a horizontal ray at the peak, right here, around 5 cents. And with its recent last pop, you can see that it actually dropped to zero. We're around 0.0007 and it's at 0.0039. So this still does have a long way to run. If we're just doing a rough measurement, around 1,200% potential increase. What we really want to be looking at is using Fibonacci, starting from up here, bringing it down to the bottom. I like to drag it over so I can get a better look. And always I'd like to look for the 0.618 retracement, which has a potential of around 7.5x. A lot of potential movement for this coin actually. And then the next thing I would be doing is looking at the downward trend. So we see that it had this downward trend coming right here, a little bit dark on that line. And then I would also build another trend line starting from here and trying to piece it out, but there's not really much to go off right here. So I would drop this line, see a little bit of retracement and consider that support. It is holding over the 200 EMA on the daily, which is nice to see. It is starting to push back up to the overbought area, but it's also forming this nice W, and you could actually see a pump up towards 0.007. So XPR actually does look pretty interesting. You can trade it on MEXC. Reference link in the link below. They have the lowest trading fees of any platform, and I'm actually probably going to move some money over to XPR. Thanks for pointing that out, Richard Hayes. But now going into Quant, and I guess the Torn video I had made, there was no volume, so I'm going to go back into Torn. Quant, we had an entry at 75, as well as during this consolidation, more entries near the 100 area, as we are starting to get more and more support. With Bitcoin doing its consolidation, it's still building a higher low right now. When we zoom in, it held support right around here. We want to see it break over this area and start pushing up towards this high for further confirmation. But you see that we have a nice bull candle on the 4 hour. We may get a little bit of rejection in this red line, but it may have a little bit more of a push upwards, which could bring the rest of the market upwards as well. LCX had a major pump holding support on this upward trend line. Me personally, I'm still not entering. It's been around 15 cents for a long time, but I believe we will see it start pushing up towards the 17 cents, and then it will become a little bit more interesting. XYO still in consolidation. We want to see it push over that 200 EMA. Also, these two dotted red lines, fair value gap, downward trend line. It's got a lot of resistance within this area, but you can see a massive pump out of nowhere like we saw back here around April 24th. I believe XYO is going to start pushing upwards and filling out this cup and handle formation like we've been talking about for the past couple weeks. Quant, we already went over Quant. XRP still forming the inverse head and shoulders. We have a ways to go to get to June, so I believe keep stacking your bag for XRP. We are not going much lower, do some dollar cost averaging, but XRP is going to have a massive potential move upwards when it fills out this inverse head and shoulders pattern, and I believe it's got a long way to go for XRP. XCN, everyone's favorite on the channel. XCN still trying to fill out the cup and handle, still struggling to get over this downward trend line. It's been more so in consolidation in this area. We had that false breakout, another false breakout, and it pushed back underneath that trend line. but I believe once we hold support and some steady consolidation over XCN, we're going to see a major push upwards. And we actually get rid of all that stuff and we go to the daily. We can see it's forming a similar formation. In this chart, it does not show its all-time high being 18 cents, which is way up here, but a similar formation to the XPR network. When you zoom out on this, it does have a longer consolidation within this area, but pushing out to the daily, somewhat similar structure, has a long way to run. We are at a fairly low point, but the one thing that concerns me about XPR is that there's only roughly $1 million being traded in 24 hours on XPR, as XCN is actually trading, I believe, 18 million whenever it starts getting a little bit busier. But a little bit of money will go a long way to push XPR up. However, a little bit money being withdrawn will reduce that price quite a bit. And the other thing that concerns me is there's 31 billion tokens for XPR, and not all of them are out in the network yet. So it does have the potential whenever they release more coins to reduce the supply and demand ratio, causing this to continue downwards. However, it is holding above the 200 EMA, so keep that in mind. XLM also forming the cup and handle pattern. It's not building a whole bunch of support within this downward trend line, but we do want to see it break this and start pushing back up towards the 0.32. GRT in consolidation still, trying to hold above that 0.10 mark. We're looking at a potential entry at the once it broke this black trend line. When you're zooming out, it's kind of an important trend line to be getting over, but it is holding above the 200 EMA. On the RSI, it is above the 50 roughly, so it does have potential to start pushing upwards in breaking this black trend line and pushing up towards the 0.25. Tornado, the video did not have volume. However, I had told for a couple weeks now to buy around 7.5, which we had entry, and it has an all-time high of over $400. It is breaking this all-time high. I do not see the 200 EMA, which is strange. Let's see. Yeah, that's kind of strange with what it's looking at. However, it does have the potential to be hitting that first stop of around $26, which is over double your money. And it does wash Bitcoin. So I'm going to be putting more money into Tornado Cash as well, as for $10 turning into 400 potentially is a pretty good risk to reward ratio. And I also wanted to bring in Prime, the whole reason for this video, to not make the same mistakes as a crypto trader. You can't fall in love with one coin and hold it forever. Maybe XRP, because it is a very nice one at dollar cost average and will have a nice potential. But for example, Prime, we gained a pretty good, I believe, over 50% within these scalp trades. And then it had the inverse head and shoulders and we exited. And the reason for that is it broke this trend line for the 1, 2, roughly 3, 4, and 5th tap, broke that trend line, and it's been in a downward consolidation heading below the 200 EMA. So if you had your money stuck in there while that is happening, you're just losing money or bleeding out a little bit when you could be putting your money into something like Quant, entering around the $75 mark. And while Prime is bleeding out, you're still gaining money while this is breaking the downward trend line. It's holding support, which is nice. And I also want to bring in BNT because BNT has had a major pump as well. Consolidation, a major candle right there, but it is wicking off. So we are getting some more support with BNT. We want to see it break this downward trend line. The RSI is at a little over 50, which is looking good. As it has this wick happening, high volume. BNT is looking better and better. And from entry point, if you're in my signal channel, we had an entry right here at 0.36. You are currently up over 94% within the past couple, I guess, month or so. Still holding above the 200 EMA. When we break this downward trend line, BNT is going to run. So keep that in mind. It is looking very good. It's also holding above the 0.618 on the Fibonacci retracement, meaning the next push up is 0.83, 0.96, and then all the way up at $1.30, which would be double money. That's it for today. I always recommend MEXC trading platform, Grass token if you want free airdrop money, or Coinbase is doing airdrops, and Roller Coin. All the reference links are in the link below. Roller Coin, you get 1,000 Satoshis. It's a freemium game, and that's it. I will see you guys on the next one.